Good morning, everyone. Good morning.
Shout out to the chess club.
I'm glad to have you. I'm glad to have you. We're here to vibe. We're here to rock. We're here to roll. And talk about some stuff, because some stuff has happened. So that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do. It's Hump Day, Wednesday, the day of our Lord. And I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Let's see. Okay. Ready for the shadows? Well, yeah, so I mean, elephant in the room. We're gonna get right into this here in a minute, but the new DLC trailer for Elden Ring dropped, so we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about an announcement with regards to Hi-Fi Rush, because that just kind of popped out of nowhere. There's news about sorry, my brain is fried. Kingdom Come Deliverance. There's all sorts of news. So we're going to go through all of that. We're going to tackle that and do it. But of course, first, how are you guys? Are you guys good? You vibing? You vibing? I've not watched the Elden Ring trailer. I have no idea what it contains. So we're going to experience this together, because I have not seen it. I have not seen it, and I'm ready to see it. It's been very hard not to look at it all morning while I've been hanging out with like the little boys. That sounds weird. My sons, the little fellers that I spend the mornings with while Nikki sleeps in. The little boys. They are technically little boys, but that sounded weird. Elden Ring DLC wins Game of the Year in my book. Well, hopefully it looks good. I'm sure it does. My only thing is, like, if we couldn't consider Phantom Liberty for like Game of the Year, I don't think we can consider the Elden Ring DLC. I think we have to be fair. Like, if we're not going to consider expansions for Game of the Year, we have to be consistent, you know? It's not to say it won't be amazing, but it's like, you know what I mean? Get what I mean? It's just, I understand why people might want to toss it in there, because Phantom Liberty last year was, I think, probably one of the best things that released the whole year. But it's an expansion. Like, it's just not the same as a full release. It can be just as good, but it's just not the same. Same with remakes. I'm still weirded out by remakes. Like, I understand that there's different tiers. Like, you know, nobody's gonna say that every remake is created equally. You know, that wouldn't be fair. Because really, what we're talking about with remakes is like, you have some. Let me go here. You have some. This is like the scale of like remake quality. This one is like The Last of Us Part 1. And it was like, technically it's remade. Technically. But it really doesn't feel like it. Like, there's really not much. There just isn't. And then there's like, probably, what's like a mid-tier remake that was like good? Well, maybe like you could do Resident Evil like 2 remake. That one was good. But then all the way over here, you have like Mafia Definitive Edition, and you have like Final Fantasy VII remake, and now Rebirth, and all these. And so, like, if you're gonna consider remakes, you'd have to toss in The Last of Us Part 1, which is technically remade. It's gonna review well, but nobody's saying that that's on the same level of effort as like these. You know, these are crazy, where it makes like a game that was previously lost to history actually playable now, basically. Resi 2 is like a solid remake that's good, but it's not like totally transforming everything. Seemed like Resi 4. There's a lot of the Resi remakes, you know? Yeah, mid. I meant middle of the graph. Not that the Resident Evil 4 remake or 2 was mid, as the kids say. But it's just like, it's tough to come up with a truly fair way of breaking it down, which is why I think a lot of the time it's just more consistent and fair to just be like, remakes, no. You know? It's just easier to be consistent with it.
Charlie Masters donated £4.99 through Super
Thank you.
Chat. Hey, I was shocked to find the PS5 is almost 4 years old. Do you think it's been as successful as other consoles at the halfway point in terms of games?
Oh yeah, in terms of games is the operative question. Because I think in terms of sales, it's not quite on par with the PS4. At least I think that's what I read. And in terms of, I mean, of course, it's not approaching like the Switch or anything, but Nintendo's crazy. As for games, it certainly feels like there's been less bangers so far compared to the PS4 gen. It felt like the PS4 gen, every year we were getting like a new best game in the third-person adventure genre ever. Like, it felt like we were getting, you know, the God of War reboot. We got Ghost of Tsushima that came out of nowhere. Even like we got some out of total left field, like Death Stranding and Days Gone, which are solid in and of themselves. Not for everybody, sure, but you know, certainly something. Oh right, Nintendo also had an event today. Jesus, today's the day, I guess. But with all this, it's just like, it really feels like in hindsight, the PS4 gen was just an ocean of bangers, one after another. Yeah, Bloodborne's another one. There were just so many. And now it feels like, you know, we're halfway through the PS5 gen and we've gotten mostly sequels and remakes. Like the best PS5 game so far, probably God of War Ragnarok. Help me out. What's another PS5 like absolute banger? Because Elden Ring was technically cross-generation, right? So I don't think that counts.
Tenacious Beagle is now a member. Hi Luke, I recently platinumed CB 2077 and was wondering what your opinion is on trophy hunting?
First of all, thank you for the 3 months. Secondly, I do it for some very select games that I love. Like Batman Arkham City. Platinum the shit out of that. Like, loved it. Or like Batman, well, a lot of Batman games, honestly. Batman Arkham Asylum 2. Assassin's Creed 2. Games like that. Games that I really, really love. I will go that extra step. I'm not one of those players, though, that goes and like platinums every game I choose to tackle. I just wouldn't be able to. So I admire the people that can do that and are that dedicated. I just don't have the strength. I can't keep up with it. You gonna watch a new Borderlands movie trailer? I probably will eventually. Probably not on stream because it's gonna get copyrighted out the ass. Honestly, like, I have such little faith in movie adaptations of video games that I don't even want to really expend the energy to get my hopes up. But maybe it actually is amazing. I don't know. Which Batman game is my favorite? I think, you know, it's as I mentioned, I mean, the first game I ever like 100% completed was Batman Arkham City, and that still holds a very special place in my heart. So I think Batman Arkham City is my favorite Arkham game, and it probably always will be. When I've gone back to it and tried to play it in the years since, which I still do, like, it's not that big of a game, but I'm always amazed at how small the map is. And I remember playing it when I was young, like really young, and it was just this vast city, and it was amazing and expansive. And now I go back, I'm like, wow, it was like pretty tiny. There's like 3 or 4 districts, and that's kind of the whole thing. It was crazy. Really not that big of a game. just surprising. Yeah, Ragnarok was cross-gen too, I guess. Yeah, I guess you're right. So like, what is the PS5 banger that they've had? They've had Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, which was fine. I would say it was good. And Spider-Man 2, which I would say was good. But no, like, in my opinion, no bangers that were like, oh my God, this is amazing. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth looks like it's gonna be a banger as well. But I just don't think that's as exciting as like the totally out of left field things like the God of War 2018 reboot of a franchise that everybody thought was dead, or Days Gone, a new IP, or Death Stranding, a new IP, or Bloodborne, a new IP. Like there were so many big surprises that just came out swinging in the PS4 gen. And so far, most of the new IP that we've gotten are for live service games. And then on the flip side, like, we have gotten a couple, like Helldivers has popped off, and that's not technically a new IP. I think that one you could count as like coming out of left field a little bit more, because I don't think a lot of people expected to like it or to be interested in it. So I think that's helped a lot. But yeah, it is. Yeah, Returnal I think is one that popped off, but in my experience, Returnal is much more niche, like much more niche.
Bender the Offender donated $5 through Super Chat. Thoughts on the Shadow of the Erd Tree gameplay trailer?
Haven't watched it yet. We're gonna watch it together here in just a minute. That's a good segue. I have it pulled up. We're gonna look at it together. I've not watched any of it, so I don't know what it contains. I have no idea. It's crazy. Do people hate Spider-Man 2 now? Most comments I see are negative. I don't think they hate it. I think it's just that it's like, I think their hopes were up and the game ended up being really short and not that different from the other ones. Like it just didn't really blow anybody away, which was unfortunate. So I think that's most of it. Niche. Yeah, I mean, it's, again, Returnal is great, but I mean, you can even look at the sales numbers. It's no God of War, it's no Bloodborne, it's no, even Days Gone, I think technically speaking has performed better, but that one's tricky because they brought it to like PlayStation Plus and it was free for a while, so it's hard to quantify how successful Days Gone was. But it's great, but it's very niche. It's very niche. So I don't know. Now Alan Wake 2 outsold their expectations. Last I saw. Maybe their expectations were low, but last I saw it outsold their expectations. Oh, and Spider-Man 2 is rushed in your opinion? For me, it's just that the story was ridiculously predictable and there weren't any like huge big surprises. They showed most of the cool stuff that happens in the game in the trailers and preview events. And because the game's so short, there really wasn't that much stuff left to really blow you away. And I think God of War Ragnarok just really spoiled us, because God of War Ragnarok, just when you thought they'd done all the cool stuff, they bring in something even cooler. But for Spider-Man 2, it's like you keep waiting for the cool thing to happen, but it's only the stuff you've already seen. Like it's like, oh, wah. Stellar Blade, I mean, I would bet you right now that Stellar Blade is not going to move the needle very much. It'll probably sell well enough, but that game is not breaking into the mainstream. What do you pronounce it as? School and Bones? Because it schools you on how to make a bad game. That's why. It's all part of the plan. It's all part of what we're doing.
Mr. Zach2U donated $4.99 through
Thank you,
Super
my
Chat.
friend.
Hey Luke, big fan aside from all the Ubisoft caution. Your own thoughts based on what you've seen so far. How do you anticipate Star Wars Outlaws going?
I am very bullish on Star Wars Outlaws. I like, the biggest thing about Star Wars Outlaws is that it looks too good to be true for a lot of people. And when that's like the extent of people's feedback, that's good, because people are like, this looks so good, there's no way this is real. That's a good problem to have if the game is actually what you've shown. Okay, if they have to walk it back, if they do like Rainbow Six, you know, or Watch Dogs downgrade, then they're gonna get crucified. But if they are actually able to deliver on what we saw in that trailer, I think we're in for a treat. I think so. I've said before, like we posted a TikTok and YouTube shorts and stuff saying people dismissing Ubisoft this year, I think might do so at their own detriment, because while Skull and Bones was terrible and was always going to be terrible, let's be honest, that does not mean that Star Wars Outlaws or Assassin's Creed Red will necessarily be terrible also. They're different studios. They have not been in development hell. They're being put together by very capable studios that have released full games before. And none of that was true of the team that put Skull and Bones together. So I think Star Wars Outlaws has a ton of potential, and all they have to do is deliver on what was in that trailer, and we have a game. We have an awesome game that I think is going to get a lot of really positive press. A lot of people are going to be like, dude, look at Starfield and how crappy that was compared to this. I think it's going to make a lot of people thrilled. But if they don't deliver on what was in that trailer, there's going to be some problems. Because some games can get away with downgrades a little bit easier than others. A studio and publisher that cannot get away with it at all is Ubisoft. They will be memed into oblivion over it. I mean, already the CEO making the quadruple A game, look at all the comments in YouTube chat right now. It's like every other message is a reference to the quadruple A meme that the CEO put forward. And that, I mean, that is precisely the problem. Like the lack of self-awareness. I mean, seriously, like look at it. There's all of these comments referring to the quadruple A thing. And it's because it was a ridiculous thing to say. Because it's like, oh no, you should buy Skull and Bones because it's quadruple A. And it's like, shut up, dude. Shut up. It's like I said in the video that we put up yesterday. It's like the CEOs have no conception of the difference between like $30 and $40. They don't understand that charging $70 for a game like Skull and Bones is so much more than charging $30 for Palworld or $40 for Helldivers. It's like one is automatically dismissive and the other is encouraging and intriguing. And they just have no conception of it. Because I think they probably are like choosing the price to set the game at while looking at spreadsheets while being driven around in a $200,000 Mercedes by their driver. And so they're like, yeah, the idea of a $30 difference for a copy of a video game, they have no conception of that. No conception. It's like Apple dropping a $3,500 headset. It's like, yeah, no shocker. People can't afford it. But I would argue that's because Apple doesn't want the average person to buy that headset. I think they just wanted developers to buy it. It's basically a $3,500 developer kit. That's my theory. Because otherwise it's just brain dead stupid. And so I think that they're not that stupid. Is God of War Ragnarok a quadruple A or quintuple A game? I think like you could argue probably that God of War Ragnarok would classify itself as a quadruple A game. I think Spider-Man 2, it's fair to say that was a quadruple A game, purely on budgetary, like by looking at the budgetary things. Same with Skull and Bones. Budgetarily, probably they spent about as much making Skull and Bones and marketing it as they spent on Spider-Man 2 and as they spent on like Red Dead and God of War and all of those games, if not more. I think they technically spent more on Skull and Bones than they spent on God of War 2018 and like GTA 5, which is insane. Inflation's tricky, but you know. The point is they spent a lot because they basically made 4 different games while developing Skull and Bones, and then they just kind of like finally settled on something and tossed it out. It's ridiculous. How do you find A versus AA versus AAA? So I've never heard of somebody say just an A class game. I think that would be classified as indie. So I think how I would break it down, Adam, is like Single A is basically just an indie game. So they're probably partnering with a publisher, but it's a small team, probably less than 50 people. It's privately funded. It's usually resulting in a cheaper game that's maybe under $30. And that's kind of how I would start it. And then AA would be like what you see from Focus Entertainment, where they're probably like 60
Do you
and
think
lower.
Ubisoft named this
Thank
game
you.
Skull and Bones because they chose not to put any meat in the game, even though it's a beef? It's lean minced meat.
It's all a psyop. It's all part of it. Maybe that is actually why they're trying to get you subtly used to the idea that there's no meat on the bone, so it's just bones. That's awesome. I love that. Thank you for 4 months, by the way, too. So I think that the consideration for AA, AAA, quadruple A, whatever, a lot of the time in like Hollywood, it's based on like the budget that went into it. So it's like a quadruple A film if they spent more than $300 million on it or whatever. In video games, it's more tricky because I think when people hear AA or AAA, there's an assumption of quality and scale as well. So it's just kind of tricky to outline. I think for Yves Guillemot, he was like, we spent as much on Skull and Bones as we've spent on these upcoming Assassin's Creed games, so therefore we should charge the same amount. And that's just not the thing. Like, it's just not how you do that. People are not going to just roll over and accept that, you know. Yeah, GTA 6 is rumored to have cost between $1 and $2 billion, and then I don't think that includes marketing. So I think that game's going to be ridiculous. At least that's the expectation when you spend that much money. Yeah. God damn. Let's see. Okay. But yeah, I usually classify it, A is just indie. AA is probably less than $60, 60 or less, from a publisher that's not like Square Enix or Bandai Namco or Ubisoft or PlayStation. Like, it's a smaller publisher. AAA is like a full price $70 game. And quadruple A is something where it's like, this is the big game of that year or of that half of the year. So like, I think you could say GTA 6 is a quadruple A game. Elden Ring 2, when that drops, probably a quadruple A game in terms of scale and quality and stuff. So that's my kind of guess. It's a mix of budget, studio size, and quality. Yeah, some people I think will just go purely based on budget. I find that reductive because then you end up with Skull and Bones being a quadruple A game. So I think it's a little more complicated than that.
Fearless Wolf donated £10 through Super Chat.
Thank you.
As they say, money talks and bullshit walks. They have forgotten that gaming is about fun and entertainment. Instead, it's money-making shmee. Hollywood doing the same.
Yeah, I mean, I think that one of the things that happened in the film industry, especially, and this is coming from a guy that has no knowledge of the film industry, is I think Marvel is actually responsible for a lot of this crap, because it made these movie production companies think that successful films and games, to a certain extent, are just a matter of formula. Like, you just put these pieces together and then you sell it at max price, you make billions of dollars. And I don't think that's
TJ
true.
Wagner donated $5 through Super Chat. What was your first video game and which game would you love to forget and do a full playthrough again? Love the content, bud.
Probably I'd forget The Witcher 3 and experience that again, or Red Dead Redemption 2. One of those two. My impulse is to say The Witcher 3. First game I ever played, that's really hard because I'm not sure. I'm honestly not sure. The first game I remember playing a lot of was like the original Red Faction. I remember that one. the original Red Faction. We played the multiplayer a ton, and we also played the campaign through like 1,000 times. So that's maybe the first one I played a lot of, but it's kind of hard to say because we didn't play it at launch or anything. I think I was like 3 or 4 years old when that game came out. So it's not quite the same.
Gunnar Eccles donated $4.99 through Super Chat. Have you looked at Pacific Drive yet? It's a seemingly aw games that's only 30 but looks amazing.
Yeah, I actually do have Pacific Drive installed and everything. I have not gotten the chance to play it, but that's what I plan to do this afternoon. So I will be trying it. So ask me tomorrow or Friday, I guess, on stream what I think of it, and I should have thoughts. RJ, what will it take for studios to learn to listen to fans? Well, so that kind of combines with what I think, what I was saying about like big production companies with films. I think Marvel taught some of those executives that they could just put out the same movie 15 different times and it would be successful as long as it was superhero themed and relatively on topic with the overall like broader story arc. And at the time it was like, hey, we like these superhero movies and we're getting more of them, yay. But I think it did a lot more harm than good in the long run, because now every single production company is just trying to come out and make the same game 15 times, the same movie 15 times over, and nothing is working. I don't think Marvel's responsible. Everyone trying to copy Marvel's the problem. Like everyone's trying to recreate the next Fortnite, but that's not Fortnite's fault. Well, with Fortnite is still breaking records and paving the way and doing tremendously well. I think the problem with Marvel, like even Marvel is failing right now because Marvel has tried to keep doing the same thing even after Endgame and everything like that. As we've seen, you know, whether it's the Sony Marvel kind of side movies or it's the official Marvel movies, they're starting to slow down a lot. And so I think it's now reminding them like, oh, wait, no, we can't just do the 15th sequel. We have to do something a little bit different. And in the video game space, I'm worried that we're just going to continue getting the same kind of thing where we're just going to get wave after wave of remake after remake after remake and sequel, and it's just going to run us all ragged. Vinyl, I think Marvel's failing because their writing quality has gone from okay to piss poor. Here's the question. Was the Marvel writing ever that good, or was it always piss poor and you just grew up and now realize it? I agree. I think it dropped off. I think it got worse. Because again, I think they just started to realize, I think they realized that like, oh, a lot of these superhero fans will just come and see whatever pile of crap we put together. And then you get like a Miss or Madam Web or whatever it's called, and you're expected to just roll over and take it, even though it's like hilariously terrible, you know? Yeah, there are some that were good, but others, man, oh God. Iron Man 1, still my favorite. Still my favorite. Madam Web was terrible. I'm curious to go see it, but I don't really want to pay to go see it. So I might wait till it's out, you know? Sneeze out of nowhere. That was a lot. Kingmakers HBB review. Yeah, I have Kingmakers, the trailer pulled up. We'll watch that in just a second. And Danny, what do you think will be the leading technology in games in 3 years' time? Artificial intelligence, cloud gaming, virtual reality, microtransactions, anything else? Thank you for your streams. Well, thank you, Danny. That was very generous. I've said before, I think it's going to move with this. What was it called? I think, yeah, Scalar or Scalar, whatever. This is the future of these game engines. Ubisoft kind of outlined it in this video that they did, and it's basically just a reworked way of handling game engine stuff, where now instead of just a singular engine that you come in and replace gears on, throughout the years. What it's going to be is it's going to be managed in the cloud, kind of tying all the pieces together. So they kind of explain it.
This technology is built to power the game worlds of tomorrow. To bring them to life, it supports massive numbers of game assets, simulations, AI and player entities. And because the dreams of players and game makers are constantly evolving, this technology is made to evolve alongside them, updating constantly and adding more capabilities as they are needed, without interrupting play. Imagine a game world, vast, rich, and fully simulated, populated by an unlimited number of players, all sharing and shaping a single reality together. Not long ago, this could only have been a dream. Today, we are building the technology to make this happen. Introducing Ubisoft Scalar.
So that's their vision. They posted in March of 2022. So this is the tech they'll use for like Assassin's Creed and stuff like that, where they're going to be using cloud infrastructure to tie different systems together so that they can use.
Does anyone have gum?
Like,
donated $9.99 through Super Chat. You're probably tired of questions about The Last of Us, but I watched a video about her. The second game is impossible to adapt to a show. Thoughts?
That's interesting. I'll get to that in just a second. That's interesting. I think what was I saying? Ubisoft Skylar White. That's okay. That broke me. Jesus. So anyway, the vision with Scalar is that it's supposed to be this system to use cloud infrastructure to tie together different things. So if you need to, like in Assassin's Creed Red or whatever, if you want to do a big update where you improve the AI of all of the NPCs, you can just kind of do that. Yeah, it's just like taking this piece over here, swapping it out, kind of hot swapping, without having to do anything crazy transformative to the game. And the idea is that when you have an infrastructure like that, you can build like an Assassin's Creed Infinity thing where you have multiple games in the same scalar engine. And then if you make upgrades graphically to one, it's making upgrades to the entire thing. So it's not like you have to go in and manually tinker with each individual game within the parent game. You can instead do something that affects everything all at once. That's at least part of the vision. As for what this practically means, it means even single player games are going to be always online. It probably means that like AI and NPC AI will all be handled in the cloud. So you'll have to be connected to the internet, even if you're playing a single player game like Assassin's Creed. Maybe they also offer an offline mode with stupider AI or something. I don't know. But that's basically where they're going. That's kind of the broader vision. And this isn't just Ubisoft, to be clear. Every studio, every major engine developer is looking at doing this and using, like, it's why they kind of love the idea of using something like ChatGPT type technologies and language models in video games, where you can just like talk to NPCs, to have conversations with NPCs to navigate the world and stuff. Because not only is it cool to just be able to walk up to an NPC and be like, hey, I'm looking for Ribblesman Gobsmack. He's a blacksmith. I was told he was in this town. And then they actually turn to you and they say, oh yeah, his shop is down the road on the left by the big tree. You can't miss it. Responding directly to your dialogue. That will be awesome. And that is something they are working on in games. NVIDIA's already shown demos of that technology working. It's just, how do you scale it to millions of players? That's the tricky bit. So that's coming eventually. And the reason developers love that, it's not just because it's cool, but publishers and devs love it because that means you have to be connected to the internet, most likely, at all times. So bye piracy. Like you're screwed at that point, because there's no patching that in. You have to be connected to their official servers, and if it's not an official copy, you're screwed. There probably will be ways to like work around it, but that is one thing they love the idea of, is all of a sudden people can't can't download the games illegally. Ooh. Or a subscription. Yeah, maybe they do that. They can do a subscription. So buckle up, buckaroo, because I think there's going to be in the future some games that are very, very technologically impressive like that. But then the kind of bait and switch is going to be, yeah, and it's going to be $10 a month to play or $20 a month to play. And you'll have a lot of individual games that have like their own Fallout First thing. I'm not happy about that, to be clear. I think if they really wanted to figure this out, they could, especially with next gen consoles. It looks like one of the big things with those next gen consoles is going to be that they're going to push for like AI stuff. There you go, Isla or Ela. That's the keyboard I use. I saw you put that in chat. I don't have a command for it, but Keychron Q6. Anyway. So that's that. That's where I think technology is going. In 3 years' time, I do think that the next generation of consoles, you're going to hear a lot about, like, we have a neural network engine on the PlayStation 6 to handle AI computation on device, so you don't need to be connected to the internet. So the next God of War game, you can just talk to NPCs and not have to be connected to the internet for any of this stuff. I think that's going to be a big thing. That's going to be a big push for next gen consoles, I think. Let me catch up on this real quick. Rock, also, thank you for subbing over on Twitch, my friend. 4 months, so baby. Thank you for that. Impulse, thank you for that. Please check Suicide's player count. It's not very good. That's not very good. That's bad. Yikes. Yowza canowza. Man.
Manny Barajas is now a member. Damn, 5 months already. Speechless face. Time to celebrate with a nice cup of liberty. Sorry, I'm going through a phase. Love you. Keep up the good work.
Dude, we're all going through that phase. Trust and believe. Trust and believe. Thank you for 5 months. That's crazy. Thank you, my friend, for the support. And yeah, I totally get it. I'm going through that phase too. Yeah, this is not good. This is not good. Already down to under 1,000 on Steam concurrently. And like the fascinating thing is I've been looking. They don't know I do this. They don't know I do this. But I do. I look on the Suicide Squad Reddit every once in a while because they were quite unhappy with me in the lead up to the game's release. And I found it pretty funny because, like, I was like, hey, one of us is going to be right. Either I'm right with all these red flags looking like very concerning, and maybe there's something in here that looks a little rotten, or you guys are going to be right and the game will actually end up being awesome. Maybe that's what it's going to be. And already, I mean, the community is starting to turn. Remember I said, I was like, yeah, right now they're all a little crazy and they don't want to admit there are problems. The community is already starting to flip and turn on it, just like happened with Starfield. The same thing happens. And it's basically just what happens with like a community around a video game they were super hyped about. And then the game comes out. It's not anywhere near as good as what they wanted. And so they then have to start to like reconcile and accept the problems that are present. And it takes a little while. Sometimes it's a couple weeks, sometimes it's a couple months, but eventually they come around. And we saw it with Starfield, and we're seeing it now with Suicide Squad start to happen. As this guy, Objective Perspective, says, there's a fun game here at its core. I do believe that, but holy F is it buried under 10 feet of dog crap. I was super pumped about this game and even got the $100 edition to play early. It seems after that first week, the game has just spiraled out of control. Aside from the many other countless bugs and issues that have plagued this game since that first week, I have not been able to connect to anyone online, and I have been bugged out of being able to increase my mastery rank. I can't even play Mastery 1 on the missions, so I can effectively only play this solo, and in solo, I have no end game. My game has been like this since week 1, and I know I'm not the only one having these issues. I don't think Season 1 is going to save this game. I had hope, but not anymore. Yep. And I mean, these are people that are members of this community and are like, game's not as bad as reviews say, but still not the best. Should have been like $40. Yeah, I haven't played a lot since I did as much as I could with this end game. The core gameplay is enjoyable without a doubt, but there's nothing to do except grinding out finite crisis missions, and even that grows stale over time. I'm rank 83, and I can't be asked to do any more grinding. Been playing Infinite Wealth, and will play Final Fantasy VII Rebirth while I wait for Season 1 to drop. Yeah, that's the other thing. There is no Season 1 right now. It comes in March. I said at launch for this game, I said there is no way that they could justify putting Season 1 a month after launch with this little content. And sure enough, they've waited, and it seems to be a big, big mistake, because now their player counts are in the dumpster. I mean, it's dropped since I pulled it up before. I think it was, what was it, 884? When we just looked at it a few minutes ago. Maybe I'm tripping. Maybe it was 864. I feel like it's dropped. So, yeah, it's just, it's crazy. Yeah. Did he watch Shadow of the Erdtree trailer, or is he on a 20-minute tangent? You know the answer. You know the answer. Jeez. Caught me red-handed. Okay, Jesus. Let's actually go close the Scalar trailer. Okay. Okay, everybody who super chatted, thank you. I'll read those in just a minute. We'll get there in just a second, but people have been waiting. Squirrel, people have been waiting. Let's watch the Shadow of the Erdtree gameplay reveal trailer. I have not seen this. I've not witnessed any of it. I have intentionally not looked at anything this morning. When I got up with my boys this morning, we turned on Shrek Forever After. Very good movie. It's like actually pretty terrible, but it's actually quite fun. So we turned that on, ate breakfast. It was super cute. And that's how I distracted myself from watching any of this. So I have not seen anything. I don't know what we're dealing with. I don't know anything. We're just going to go for it. Turn on subtitles. It says subtitles are unavailable. So can't. Favorite Shrek movie? Probably 2. Let me make this transparent for y'all. Let's see it. Big money.
Pure and radiant, he wields love to shrive clean the hearts of men.
Ooh.
There is nothing more terrifying.
I'm gonna call him Egbert.
In that forsaken place, blood must spill. Blood of your fellows. the Erdtree faithful.
They were never saints. They just happened to be on the losing side of a war.
Whoa.
Mother, wouldst thou truly lordship sanction in one so bereft of light?
Oh, man.
I presume you, too, are keen to know just what kind Miquella is doing here.
Whoa, baby.
Those stripped of the grace of gold shall all meet death in the embrace of Vesma's flame.
Come now. Touch the withered arm and travel to the realm of shadow. I will not be far behind. May we meet again.
Okay. Okay. June 21st. 4 days after my birthday. And they have a collector's edition for it? What? Okay, you know you've peaked as a developer when you can just like casually drop a collector's edition for a DLC. Like what? Wow. And you can pre-order the collector's edition now. You know what I have to do. You know what I have to do. Is it already sold out? Probably. Probably, but we're gonna see. Collector's edition for probably Steam, right? Well, no, I played it originally on PS5, so probably PS5. Because the Steam version was super broken at launch. So I think I played it all on PS5. How much is it? I don't even know how much it is. Oh, it's broken. It totally is busted right now. That's funny. That's funny. Yep. Page not found. You want to give us money? Too bad. Too bad. Is it available on like Steam? You can pre-order it. Pre-order the Steam version. Okay. I'm logging in. I'm logging in right now. I'm logging in. It says I'm being redirected, but nothing's happening. I'm trying to log in and it's not working. I don't remember my password. Maybe I should have been more prepared. Can anybody out there tell me another instance of a game that drops with freaking like a collector's edition for DLC? Has that ever happened before? What's another? Did they do that? I don't think they did that with Phantom Liberty. Blood and Wine. Did Blood and Wine? Did they really do that? Oh my god. Their website is so broken right now. This is hilarious. Global partner site. Unbelievable, dude. It's like super, super broken. It's very broken. It is. It is struggle bussing right now. Yeah, I've definitely ordered through Bandai Namco before. I've definitely done this. Luke's password is quadruple A. People are too mean to Assassin's Creed. That's my password. Okay, now we refresh this. Now that we're logged in, we press the little button. You can only purchase a maximum of one. I only want one. Damn you. Let's be honest. I just know that I know for a fact that this the collector's edition is going to be worth more on launch day than when I buy it. Okay. Okay. I'm paying for it. I'm paying for it right now. I'm placing order. I'm placing the order. It's processing. It's one shot. Booyakasha. Order confirmed. I'm not going to show my screen because I don't want anybody to like get swifty on me. But order confirmed. It did end up being a Steam version. So that should be fine though. Just means I'm going to have to play through it again. Finish a playthrough probably. Because I'm guessing you need to finish the base game before they let you do it. And I finished the base game on PS5 originally, and that's where I played. So, yeah. Where did you order? Just through the Bandai Namco store. When you go to this site right here, it asks you what platform you want and what version you want. And if you do the collector's edition on Steam, it lets you order it. If you try to do collector's edition PS5, the website breaks. I'm mainly interested in the statue, so I don't care what version of the game is in the code. Like, that's less important to me. I'm more interested in the statue. Just being honest. Just being honest. Okay. Okay. Booyah. What's my advice on making content? Make lots of it and try very actively to learn from your mistakes because you will make many of them. That's my advice. So many people reach out and they're like, Luke, I want to be a YouTuber. What's your advice? And then I look at their channel that they link and they've posted like 2 videos. Like, if you want to be a content creator, create content. I'm not going to like, it's really not more complicated than that. Make content that you would find interesting and you would want to watch. And practice, and you're good. What's your advice on giving advice? Try to come up with something that sounds really, really significant and like meaningful that maybe doesn't actually mean anything. So like, if you want to be an extraordinary person, be extraordinary. That doesn't mean anything, but it sounds like it does, you know? And that's the key. That's the key. It's got to sound significant. It's got to sound extraordinary. Yeah, see? Oh, God. Okay. That's silly. Let me show you guys this. If you like Elden Ring, you might actually think that this game looks really cool. I saw this on Twitter, and then after this, I'll catch up on Super Chats and everything, I promise. So I saw this pop up on Twitter, and I thought it looked crazy. It's a game called No Rest for the Wicked. I hadn't heard of this before.
This month's IGN First is Ori developer Moon Studios' upcoming action RPG, No Rest for the Wicked. Throughout the rest of February, we'll have new gameplay, behind-the-scenes features, and interviews with the development team coming your way, all building up to the game's Wicked Inside Showcase on the 1st of March. First up, though, we have an exclusive look at 8 minutes of gameplay, including a tense boss battle against Warwick the Torn. Enjoy!
Like, it actually looks very, very good. The From Software inspiration's evident. Yeah, the art direction is on point. It's like a painted style. It is an isometric view for the camera. That turns some people off, but I think games like Baldur's Gate have helped a lot with normalizing that, which I'm very thankful for, because there are some fantastic games that have isometric camera angles. So what also strikes me is the, not just rain, but the lighting. I think the lighting is fantastically well done too. So he's going to pivot around, and then we're going to see a boss fight take place. And this boss fight is very Bloodborne. It's very like, also Lies of P, but Lies of P was also very much inspired by Bloodborne. But it has that kind of hectic, chaotic beast nature as opposed to like the Dark Souls, more regal knight design. It's just pure chaos. But I love this level design where they have it so as you explore with this isometric camera angle, you can see in the distance areas you're going to travel to next. That guy's tough. Jesus. Nice. Missed a little. It's okay. The sound design is also on point. And then the body burns away, the blood splatter. Look at that. This is called No Rest for the Wicked. It's a game that they are having a showcase. I think they said March 1st. They're going to be showing off a lot of it. And to me, it just gives me strong, like, isometric From Software vibes, basically. And they're about to show a boss fight here in a second. Nice parry. I love a good parry system. Mushroom soup. Good soup. Oh, you can jump. Jumping confirmed. Nice. So he has an archer tunic, so there's different armors. Oops, sorry.
Someone's coming.
Saren. Forgive my father. He mistook you for one of the Risen.
Actual narrative?
There are worse
What?
things than bandits up ahead. A great beast is loose in these glades.
They say it used to be a man. I wanted to go after it, but father says...
Father says the Torn are not to be trifled with. And he's right.
I mean, I've seen bits of this trailer, and I think your dad's right. I think he's right. Should we see it? Should we see the big boss man? So right here, he pushes down the bridge. So there's Metroidvania elements where you unlock previously gated areas. So now you have the shortcut between the place where you rest and if you die, where you load back in on. I did that in God of War 2. I know, like, you probably... Ooh, they're swimming. You probably should use your axe to break the boxes. I always would just roll into it. Just break it with my forehead. That's what I would do. Just feels right, you know? So you can cook different recipes that restore health and stuff. So you're actually using items you gather in the world to create things that will heal you and help you during combat. Encourages more exploration stuff. Okay, and now boss fight time. You ready? Okay, we'll walk in here. Boss fight o'clock. I mean, come on, you get what I mean with the Bloodborne vibes? So each of his big attacks ends in him kind of resting for a second. So it's definitely an endurance fight. And you can just hold out. Plink away damage where you can. Ooh, weak to fire for sure. You can do it, little man. You can do it. Get in there. Oh, yeah. Oh, he's close. Oh, nice. Dude, he has like no HP left. Oh, he finishes him with a parry. Wow. That looks pretty good, right? And then you pick up his corpse-smeared blade. So you get to take his weapon. That looks pretty fire, right? So this game is called No Rest for the Wicked. I'll put the link to this into chat so you guys can go either bookmark it or follow it wherever else or however else you want to check it out. They say throughout the rest of February, we'll have new No Rest for the Wicked gameplay, behind the scenes features, interviews with the dev team, all building up to the game's Wicked Inside showcase on March 1st. First up, though, we have an IGN exclusive look at 8 minutes of gameplay, blah, blah, blah. So March 1st, they're going to have a showcase dropping a lot more information on it, but looks pretty fire, doesn't it? Looks pretty good. It's from the, who's developers? Wait, which developer? Oh, Moon Studios. No way. If you don't know Moon Studios, they're the guys. Whoops. There. I'll move it over there. I'll move you guys over there. Moon Studios are the same guys with like a background from like Blizzard and Animation Lab and stuff and they did Ori. I can understand the visual presentation now. I kind of get it now, why it looks so good. They're very good at lighting and like the art direction. I get it now. I get it. That checks out. That checks out. So that one looks really cool. I saw that pop across my X feed and I thought that it was very intriguing. So I figured I'd share it with you guys. What do you think? I think it looks good. Combat looks great, deliberate and weighty. That's kind of what I feel. And also the presentation gets me excited. It's really, really cool. Is it coming only to Xbox? That's a very good question. I don't actually know. I don't see anything. I mean, if it's from the, I don't know. It's on Steam right now? Okay. Oh, it might be a Game Pass title. Okay. Well, I mean, I'm sure we'll find out more in the future, in the coming days and weeks. We'll find out a lot more. 2 months ago, they dropped the reveal trailer at the Game Awards, which you might recall. Does this ring a bell? It's a much more narrative game based off this trailer than we like. That gameplay makes it look. Moon Studios. People are like, oh my god. You can fight on a ship. I'm sold. I mean, come on. That looks pretty fire. Oh, he did. No rest for the wicked. Just put pirate or Egypt elements in the game and looks interested. Basically. So yeah, Series X and S, PS5, and Steam. All the good stuff. That looks pretty good. That looks pretty fire. And it's being published by Private Division. That's a good get, Private Division. I'll tell you what. That's very, very good. So the original trailer on GameSpot, 87,000 views. I think as this month goes on, I'm going to be watching it. We're going to be watching a lot of trailers on that, I'm guessing. So just wait, because I'm going to be looking at that a lot. That's one to keep up with, for sure. Okay, I can close that down. Also, let me catch up on these real quick, because I had to mute notifications while we were in it. Let's see. You think a modern day AC game would work Metal Gear Solid style? Personally, I don't think so. I think like they experimented a little bit with it back with the modern day sections in like AC3 and games like that. I just don't think they're that interested. I think they like the idea to go old school. And the other thing is, like, with the modern day stuff, let's just be honest, they would not be able to keep themselves like away from bringing up political issues and stuff. So I just think it's better to just keep it historical. But thank you for the super chat, Vanley. Yeah, I don't see them doing that. I think they'll keep it historical. Also, Meowtro, thank you for the 5. Borderlands movie trailer just dropped. It looks awful as expected. I've not watched it yet, mainly because I expected it to be awful. So maybe I'll watch it later. I don't think I can watch it on stream, otherwise we'll get copyright struck out the ass. But yeah, we'll see. It's just shocker, a video game adaptation in a movie form is not that great. Drinner D, also thank you for the 5. My goodness, you guys are generous today. God damn. Air Tree looks awesome. Too bad I suck so awful at FromSoft games. Like, I saw one person in chat, they put it in, they were like, what do you think of, like, how, or what they asked was like, how can I get into FromSoft games? Honestly, like, if they're just not appealing to you, that's okay. It's just not appealing to you. Like, they appeal to a certain type of player, and if it's not appealing to you, don't try to force it. It's okay. It's okay. Like, not every game has to be played. Not every game has to be tackled. It's okay. It's okay. I can really appreciate like a game like Tekken 8. I can appreciate what goes into it, what goes into balancing it. I think it looks really cool, but I suck at fighting games. I'm just bad at them, and I have never put the time in to get good at them, so I just continue to suck. And so I can appreciate how awesome it is, but I just don't think it will ever change. So I'll just play the games that I currently like. It's the same thing with like acquired tastes. People are like, oh, try this sushi. The sushi tastes like crap, but it's an acquired taste. So if you eat more of it, eventually you'll like it. I'm like, screw that. I know I love gummy nerd clusters. I'll just eat those. Or I know with sushi, I love this type of roll. Why would I eat a roll I don't like to try and get to the point where I eventually like it when I can just eat something I like? You know, it's never made sense to me. It's an acquired taste. Okay, tell me you just are bored. That's what that is. You're just bored. It's like there was one guy, I don't remember. I just remember somebody describing to me, they're like, oh yeah, I hated whiskey for years. And I just eventually forced myself to drink a glass of whiskey every night before bed. And now I love whiskey. I was like, yeah, because you're an addict. You need it to go to sleep. Like, he's like, it's an acquired taste. I just acquired the taste or something. Like, no, you poisoned yourself till your taste buds died. That's what happened. It's insane. Crazy. I was like, I think you're an alcoholic. I think that's what you just told me. Yeah, now I drink every night and I can't sleep without it. Otherwise I get super shaky. I was like, yep, that's what that is. You just you just told me. That's exactly what happened. Oh God. Tenacious Beagle also, thank you for the super chat. Any advice to figure out if games like Elden Ring is for me? It looks great, but I've never played a game like this. Should I just jump in blind? I mean, it depends. I think if you could get Elden Ring for like $20, sure, try it. I don't know what it's on sale for on different stores, so maybe check it out. Otherwise, go look into like Dark Souls 3. If you can find, like, I'm sure you can find either a used copy of Dark Souls 3 or a digital version for cheap on sale at one point. And play that. And because if you like Dark Souls 3, you're going to like Elden Ring. But Dark Souls 3, I think, is a much more affordable test. So maybe try that. If you can get Elden Ring for cheap, try it, I guess. But I'd hate for you to spend $60-$70 on a game and then be like, oh, nope, not for me. And then you just wasted your money. Because if you've never played those kinds of games before, there is a chance that you are like, who would like this? This is awful. So, yeah. Elden Ring was the first game of that, or was my first game of the genre ever. And honestly, I fell in love. Still haven't ventured out to others, but eventually will. Yeah, so some people, it was the first one they tried and they loved it. Other people, you know, less about it. Will Rockstar ever take out Red Dead Redemption 2 60 FPS update for PS5? And if not, then why? I just would never count on Rockstar doing anything just for the sake of being nice to players. They have so consistently disappointed everybody by just not doing things that would seemingly be very easy, like a 60 FPS update. And then when they do something that everybody likes, they keep it quiet. And when they do something everybody hates, they broadcast it. So like, for example, they released that remake or remaster, whatever, of the original Red Dead Redemption for the Switch and the PS4, not even the PS5, the PS4. And then you can play it on the PS5 through backwards compatibility. And everybody was like, it doesn't even have a 60 FPS update. What the hell have you guys been doing? Like, it's just like a repackaged version of the base game that you're charging full price for all over again. And then like weeks and weeks or months and months later, they secretly, quietly drop a 60 FPS patch if you're playing the game on your PS5. And there was like no article about it, no videos about it. It just went under everybody's radar. But I was like, that's the cool thing. Why didn't you tell everybody about that? Instead, you showed the thing everybody will bash you for, and then you're quiet when you do something cool. It just doesn't make any sense. So the fact that they haven't done a 60 FPS update for Red Dead Redemption 2 at this point makes me think we probably don't see it until, how long has it been since Red Dead 1? Like 12, 13 years. So I wouldn't expect that until like maybe 2031. Just be safe. And if they drop it sooner, you'll be pleasantly surprised. But I would not count on them doing anything that's nice. I would just assume it's going to suck and they won't do anything like that. Okay. One of the other news segment. One of the other surprise announcements that dropped today. I mean, we knew that Shadow of the Eritredes gameplay was dropping because they announced that yesterday. But one of the other things that came out, I woke up to that I was not ready for, not really woke up to, but that happened this morning was an announcement with regards to Star Wars Battlefront. Who saw this coming? I didn't.
Your simulation days are over, Trooper. This is a real battle. No retreats. No excuses. Now get out there.
Fight your way across the Star Wars galaxy in the classic Battlefront games with massive 64-player online battles and split-screen local gameplay. Fight with heroes.
Never tell me the odds.
And battle with villains.
Bring me more Jedi.
Get ready for the Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection. Launching March 14th. Pre-order now.
It's on PS5, PS4, and please hold.
Fight in iconic battles
the
across
Switch.
The Star Wars galaxy in this collection of 2 classic games. Up to 64 players can strike back against familiar faces in massive online battles. This collection includes additional playable characters such as Kit Fisto and additional maps like Jabba's Palace. Plus, battle as your favorite heroes or villains in Hero Assault. Play as Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader, and more on maps including Death Star and Naboo. Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection launches on the Nintendo Switch system March 14th. Pre-orders begin today on Nintendo eShop.
I don't think they're bringing split screen to the Switch version though. I don't think so. Why are they doing this? Low effort TBH. So here's the deal. There's a large group of people, myself included, that have played Battlefront since we were kids. Somebody asked me earlier in the day, like, what was a game that you played a lot when you were a kid, or what was one of the first games you played? Battlefront was one of the first as well. And I remember playing that when we lived in Minnesota. I think that was 2005. So I would have been like 8 years old. And I remember playing the ever-living crap out of that. I loved it. I loved it. And that's why people were excited when EA announced they were doing a Battlefront kind of reboot. We're like, oh, those surely won't suck. And then we all know how that ended. So Battlefront, like, whenever the first one was, 2015 maybe. I don't know. The first Battlefront reboot they did was fine. It just didn't have a lot of content. And then Battlefront 2 was so broken with the monetization and star cards that to this day you can't really get into it. Like, unless you've been playing for a while and you have a full kit of star cards, you just can't compete. It's just broken. Because they designed it to sell you star cards through loot boxes, and then when they took loot boxes out, it's like it just doesn't really work anywhere near as well anymore, for new players especially. So there's a lot of people that would play this merely for the nostalgia factor, and that's where I'm at. Like, I'm gonna play this, I'm gonna enjoy this because it's straight up my childhood. It might look really outdated and crappy because frankly it is very outdated. This was, I think, a PS2 game when it launched. Battlefront 2 was, if I recall correctly. And so, yeah, I mean, it's PS2 level graphics, but it's just pure fun. It's just nostalgia. Yeah. It's nostalgia and it's beautiful. Yeah. It was also on PSP. Oh, really? Was it the same version was on PSP? I didn't know that. Yeah, OG Battlefront 2 is goated. Dude, for real. It was so good. It was so good. And these reflections, I remember those reflections because they were all like cube maps or something, but like parts of the game were ahead of its time for sure. So why don't they upgrade the graphics? I wouldn't want them to do like a half-assed upgrade to the graphics. I would rather them just bring it like it is on the PS2 with improved resolution and maybe steadier frame rates and just rock and roll. That's all I need. I don't need them to do like a faux remake remaster thing. You know? I don't know how much they're going to charge for this, but I'm excited to see it. I would be upset if it was a full $70, but let's see. Do they have the store page listed? Oh yeah, it's $34.99. $34.99. So they're not even charging full price. It's like $15 a game. And it has split screen and 64 player online. Online play optional. Is that even possible? Are they even allowed to do that? Online play optional. What? So yeah, I didn't see that coming, but it's a welcome addition to the lineup for this year and not something I was expecting. So make of that what you will. Chanster, I'm afraid to watch any movie trailer because it's gonna get copyright struck out the ass like immediately, and the whole stream will get taken down. Oh God. Excuse me. One of the other things they dropped was a new trailer for Snow Day.
Come on, it's a snow day. Come on, Butters, let's go, Stan. Snow day, everyone.
Welcome to South Park. As the new kid,
All right, you're on now, new kid.
join Cartman, Stan, and the rest of the gang to save the town in this co-op action game. Choose from a wide range of iconic South Park items
pledge
and cosmetics
outfit.
to customize your character however you'd like. Once you're set, it's time for battle. Take on an avalanche of enemy factions in solo play or online co-op with up to 3 friends. Grab your gang and head into the fray in South Park Snow Day. Launching on Nintendo Switch March 26th. Pre-orders are available now on Nintendo eShop.
It's a snow day, dude.
Okay. It's fine. It's whatever. Not really that good of a trailer. But it's a thing. So there's that. There's that. I don't know about 3D South Park. Honestly, it looks better than I thought it would have. There was that old canceled South Park game. 3D. I remember seeing a video of it way back when, but I don't. Or did this actually come out? South Park 1999. Did this actually come out? Was this a thing? Wow. Okay. Who knew? Looks like they got it running on an emulator, which is kind of fun. Who knew? That's how long this series has been going around. Like 1999, they had this going. But it makes you really appreciate like the timelessness of the art style, because you can't even really tell. You can tell like early Family Guy episodes because they look way worse than modern ones, but like South Park, it's much more timeless. Season 1 and 2 you can really tell, like maybe the first 4 seasons you can tell, but it's very, very timeless. South Park, not only do I love South Park because it's fun and wacky, but I also love South Park because my principal in high school went to school with Matt Stone and Trey Parker in Denver. And so he had like a bunch of stories he would tell us in high school of like the shenanigans he would get into with them during that time, and just like outrageous stuff. He's like, yeah, everybody always thought that they were a couple because they were always at parties together and they would only talk to each other and like whisper in each other's ears at parties. Like it was really uncomfortable, honestly. Because we always thought they were plotting like some prank against us, but it ended up being that they just were really good friends. Which I just thought was funny. Oh yeah, they confirmed that Grounded is going to the Switch.
To build your base and craft weapons, armor, and tools to improve your chances
Resolution,
of survival.
who needs that?
Use the tools you craft to forage plant life. But watch out, you aren't alone out there. Work your way through the campaign to uncover the mysteries of the backyard. Or build, share, and play your own creations in Playgrounds mode. Do you have what it takes to make it big in this minuscule world and fend off its creepy, crawly inhabitants? Go big or never go home when Grounded launches on the Nintendo Switch system April 16th.
Honestly, it's a good fit for the Switch. I've always thought it was weird it wasn't on the Switch to begin with, so I think that's a good fit. A Mickey game. Shin Megami, Battlefront, we looked at that. Snow Day, Sword Art Online, Gundam Breaker, Super Monkey Ball.
Banana Hunt.
That's a thing.
Team up to take down robots in Robot Smash and more. Get ready to roll, tilt.
Yeah, Kingdom Come Deliverance is coming to the Switch. Who thought that was going to happen? How is right. I love the devs over there. They do some magic stuff, and I'm so ready for whatever they're working on next. But I don't know what kind of black magic wizardry they did to get this running on the Switch. My guess would be it's going to run like crap, but we'll see. We'll see. Pentiment is also coming to the Switch. That's also a perfect fit for the Switch. So no shock there. More old school emulated games coming to Switch.
Explore in an all-new Endless Ocean game. Welcome.
Ocean Luminous. I don't know.
What will you find on your undersea journey?
I think a lot of people were frustrated because, like, apparently the rumors are that they are moving back the Switch 2. They're pushing it back to Q1 of 2025. So they were originally aiming that they were going to be releasing like this fall. And apparently they've contacted publishers and developers saying that they're looking more at Q1 of 2025 now, which puts it more like February to March of next year. Which is still fine. Like, it's not that big of a deal, but it's still like moderately frustrating because now basically this whole year there's going to be almost nothing from Nintendo of significant substance, because any developer that has something really cool is just going to wait for next year. Like, why would they put it out at the end of this Switch's life cycle when you could announce it next year as like a launch game for the Switch 2? And if it's able to run on the Switch 1, cool, drop that and like make it cross generation, whatever, but at least market it alongside the hype of the Switch 2. Like, I agree, Indra, like huge install base. Absolutely. You should release it on the Switch 1. But why announce it now? Because right now everybody's like, okay, well, I'll just wait to get it till I get my Switch 2. And so everybody's just going to sit on it. So just hold it back, drop it, and announce it when the Switch 2 is announced, and everybody's super hyped around that. And if you can get it to be a launch title for the Switch 2 when there's only 10 games available for it, a lot of people will buy it even if they don't end up playing it, or even if it's not their typical type of game, just because they're interested. They must be in panic mode, not releasing for the holidays. There's got to be something. It might be manufacturing issues. It might be supply chain issues. I mean, it could be any number of things. I think there's probably very valid reasons they're having to delay it and push it back. But I mean, it's a big deal. It's a big move to drop it and push it back that far. So we'll see. Maybe those rumors are wrong. Maybe that stuff's wrong. Maybe they actually do get it out this year, but I'm not sold. It seems like if 2, 3, 4 different organizations are reporting that they're going to push it back, then it's probably getting pushed back. Okay. Working on their product quality. Well, if anybody remembers, like, do you remember the original launch of the Switch? There were some problems. Oh, this could be fun. Hold on. I guess, Jacob, this could be Luke looks back at the launch of the Switch. So one of the things with these like Crowby Cat videos, Crowby Cat, I don't know how they want it to be pronounced, but one of the things with these videos is that it's a 12-minute video that showcases some gameplay and a lot of problems people had with the Switch. Some of them were very fair, like the issues with the Joy-Con drift, huge issue that still is present today. And other things were like people getting a lemon. Here's the thing, like if you have 1 million units of a product that go out, there is a certain percentage you would expect mathematically, statistically, to have problems. It's normal. No company is able to release a perfect set of hardware where every single one works as designed when it reaches the hands of the consumer. We've all run into this where we have like a new phone or a laptop or something we buy, we're really excited for, and then we get it home and it's just not working right. It just has problems. Not because we did anything, but just because it's a little busted. It just kind of happens, unfortunately. Sometimes you just have lemons. And I think the danger with videos, kind of like Crowby Cats and what has become really popular in the years since, is that sometimes people will take these videos and extrapolate, therefore this is what everybody's experience is going to be like, and that's not necessarily true. Like, just because you can cut together a 10-minute video of problems with the Switch, that might be comprised, if you show like 10-second clips each, I mean, it might be comprised of 100 examples, 200 examples, whatever, like a lot of examples. But on the scale of millions of units out there, if you were only able to gather a few hundred examples of major problems, that's really not that bad. Now, in the case of the Switch, I think some stuff was exaggerated. Some people really did think that if they bought a Switch, they were going to have problems like this one we'll see. Or like some of these problems where it just straight up like starts to bend and melt. Other problems that you'll see time and time again in this video are very, very valid, were legitimate problems that were present for the first version of the Switch, basically, and that never really were easily remedied. The ones I experienced myself was the scuffing on the screen. you pretty much immediately needed to get a glass screen protector because it was just like a plastic laminate. If you didn't, it was not going to work well. And then, of course, the Joy-Cons getting put into the wrong slider, that was a big problem too that I remember seeing.
Please take a look at how the game looks on screen. This is the new world of Zelda.
I don't think my Nintendo Switch is supposed to be doing this.
Yeah. Not normal, but somebody takes a video and they showcase it. And the unfortunate thing is at launch, you have to take that and RMA it. You have to like return it to the manufacturer. And yeah, look at this.
Over there.
And
what is that?
At launch, when there's no consoles available because everything's sold out, that sucks. Because like you have the one copy of the game or the console, and you need it replaced, but the developers, or rather the manufacturers, Nintendo, can't even get you a replacement hardware because there aren't any available. It just sucks. And it's a terrible situation, and I wish it didn't happen, but unfortunately it does just happen when new hardware launches. But this next issue is one that a lot of people got teased for.
Okay, let's play with the buttons.
A lot of people got teased for this one.
Oops,
I remember.
I went into the things.
Oh, did you go like way over?
Is this the wrong side?
Is this?
Do we have the wrong
Oh,
sides?
we do have the wrong.
This
Okay, so it's very evident.
Oh, mine's stuck now.
Oh, mine's stuck too.
The guilty look. Crap. This was a thing. Did any of you guys ever get the bracket on the wrong Joy-Con? I did this and I kind of freaked out a little bit. It turns out you need like a really thin screwdriver or like a paper clip or something. You can undo it. It's not the end of the world, but a lot of people just freaked out and would start like tugging on it, and they might break their little bumper bar or whatever. Everybody did this, but I remember at launch, people would say, "Oh God, it's stuck. I put it on the wrong Joy-Con," and you would just get roasted because people are like, "There's an L and an R. It tells you which one to put it on, dummy. Like how to orient it to put it on. This is all your fault." And you know, it's like it's an honest mistake that anybody could make, which is why it happened to thousands, if not millions, of people.
Oh, this is like cemented on now. What the fuck? Uh-oh.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Shit.
Oh, right. I see some boxing it too.
Damn it.
Damn it. Yeah, this is nothing short of an engineering oversight. The engineers were just like, oh, yeah, everybody will read the L and the R and it doesn't matter. If you put that in front of a toddler or in front of like a kid, they're going to put the thing on the wrong Joy-Con in the first 2 minutes. It's going to happen.
% need a screen protector on your Switch. I have already scratched my screen, and it is scratched by the dock because literally the screen has not touched any other surface.
The dock is terrible. It's really low quality. I was really surprised by how just cheap and flimsy the dock is. It's essentially just a little plastic box, and the Switch just kind of awkwardly crunches down on it. It's hard plastic even on the inside.
I remember doing this for mine too.
Already that people are scratching their screen.
I've gotten like
I got a microfiber cloth for it and I put it in there just like that. I remember doing that. It's, yeah, I mean, it was really flimsy and I think it looked way better in the trailers. The later version worked really well. The newer Switch dock that I got with the OLED Switch is way better, but yeah.
Dude, smudge already.
The OGs were really flimsy.
From sliding it in and out of the dock, and I think I'm taking it in and out of the dock only about maybe 8 times.
That light is supposed to stay on the whole time. I don't know what to say, Internet. I mean, this really feels like the system broke.
Oh yeah, it still thinks it's plugged in too. The whole thing is frozen. The charging icon was still on.
Press
Classic.
again.
What's gonna happen?
Look at this boomer
Software was
capturing.
closed because an
Love it.
error occurred. That's Zelda for you.
But this is the thing, is it's like this video launches, it goes viral. This is at 27 million views at this point. Like it's a big video, it goes viral, people see it, and there were a lot of people that thought, okay, well, the Switch launch is a total disaster. When in reality, like 99% of people had no issues. They just got their Switch, they plugged in the game, and they had a great time. There were people that had a bad time, but this is like the danger with social media spreading these things, is that if you have a good time, your odds of posting a video about it, like, look at this video of me using my Switch without any issues, those videos don't really go viral. The videos that go viral on like Reddit and YouTube are the videos where stuff like this happens, where it just totally breaks and isn't functioning properly. And it's like, oh my God, if you watch this, pretty soon you're going to start to think that this is just what happens to everybody. Like if I get the Switch and I save up for it and I buy it and I get a copy of it, this is the type of experience I'm going to have. That's unacceptable. And I would agree, for $300, you shouldn't have to deal with this. But it's like, it's not necessarily going to be your position, just because the only stuff that goes viral are the really bad malfunctions, which are statistically guaranteed to happen. Like I can guarantee you, if I Google right now, iPhone 15 Pro Max broken on launch or something. I guess there was a whole thing where people started breaking the back glass, and then they said that the iPhone was super weak and it was manufactured to fall apart. And now, since then, this hasn't really been a thing. Like nobody's really like, I remember seeing this. Somebody posted this clip. Look, when you try to break an iPhone, it breaks. So I imagine that. So in this case, like people saw this clip and were like, oh my God, it's too delicate. Nobody should buy this phone. When in reality, it's like, guys, I don't think that's really fair to conclude. And with the Switch, it's like, yeah, there were cases where people got lemons and it sucked for them, absolutely. But that doesn't mean that the Switch on the whole was a total disaster. In the same way that, you know, when we get the PS4 Pro or PS5 Pro, there will be issues. When we get the frickin' Switch 2, there's going to be issues. It's just always going to happen. I just encourage everybody to remember that even if there are 200 clips of a product having problems, there's still millions of people out there that didn't have any problems they felt were worthy of sharing. So it's not always a given that just because you can find a clip of something going wrong, that therefore it's bad. But man, I remember that first playing. Oh yeah, the Joy-Con. This is a real issue though. The Joy-Cons are still busted to this day. But I remember those first days playing Zelda Breath of the Wild. It was magical. Magical. We need more portable gaming consoles on the market. Nintendo has had the market covered for what feels like forever. Well, I mean, the Steam Deck, the ROG Ally, the Legion Go, those are all fantastic devices. I love my ROG Ally, but the battery life sucks. And the Legion Go looks like, from what I've heard, it's got much better battery life, but it's a good bit chunkier too. So I don't know. Like I haven't actually like really looked into it, but
guys, welcome back to the channel. We're going to be taking a look at Helldivers 2 here, running on the Lenovo Legion Go. We'll take a look at some 1200p, 800p, 20 and 30 watts.
versus
settings when it comes to
ROG
the
Ally.
resolution scale. Now,
I just want to see side by sides. I just want to see side by sides. In 10 games. See, the
Hey everyone, what's
Legion
up?
Go
I'm
is like
finally back from my break.
quite chonky. She thick, dummy thick. Average 50 to 55. 75. It's like 5 extra frames in a lot of this. Dude, playing Valorant on a handheld. That's a ballsy move. It's probably like 20% increase. Some games, Valhalla is struggling for some reason on the Legion Go. That's weird. Yeah, so some games struggle more. Maybe it's just because of the VRAM differential. I don't know. It's odd. I will say, though, I much prefer the ROG Ally and the Legion Goes to the Steam Deck. I don't like the native or the Linux thing on the Steam Deck. I just like having a Windows device that just works. Just works. You can just download straight to it. Okay. New segment. It is confirmed, ladies and gents. Microsoft has confirmed that the 4 Xbox exclusive games coming to PS5 and Switch are Pentiment, Hi-Fi Rush, Grounded, and Sea of Thieves. No shocker here. I mean, this was already rumored and discussed by like The Verge when this initially was dropping. So like nobody's really surprised by this, but it's now confirmed. Trailers have dropped. Excuse me. And it's a real thing. It's a real thing. All of these, I think, make perfect sense. They're either really niche and wacky, so just getting more players to try them is a win, like Hi-Fi Rush and Pentiment, very unique, very artsy-fartsy games, and getting them in front of more players, I think, is good. As for Sea of Thieves and Grounded, these are like co-op games. These are games that excel with more players in your party, being able to play with friends and stuff. So bringing Sea of Thieves and Grounded is awesome. I don't know if they've confirmed if crossplay, doesn't look like it, if crossplay will be a thing between these. Like if you play on Sea of Thieves on PC, can you also play with people on Xbox and PlayStation 5? I don't know, but I think that could be really cool to see. All of this to say, I mean, it just makes sense. Of all of their games in their library, these make the most sense to bring. Can't be mad about it. And, you know, they'll probably gauge performance, see what it's like. I think these games do well on the Switch. There's a huge install base on the Switch, and Pentiment and Hi-Fi Rush are great games for the Switch platform. And then as for Grounded and Sea of Thieves, those I'm more iffy on. I don't know how those will do. Sea of Thieves, if they market it well enough, I do think a lot of PlayStation players will jump on it, because there are a lot of people that love pirate games that have, at this point, just Skull and Bones. So I think if they were going to choose one, I think they'd probably go Sea of Thieves at this point. So I think they'll find a new audience there. Grounded, I just honestly don't know, because survival games are just kind of... survival games are just in a league of their own, honestly. Send Redfall. Yes. Like, yeah, we wanted to bridge the divide, help you guys out. So we're bringing one of our most well-known games to your platform. So there we go. Okay, let's do new segment, Jacob. Rise of the Ronin got another look. They called this the World Vignette, where they're going to showcase what the world looks like and everything else like that. Let's take a look-see-poo, and then I'll share my thoughts on Rise of the Ronin and explain why I've pissed people off with what I've said about it.
Rated M for mature.
PlayStation. World. Traversal. captured on PS5. Okay. All console gameplay. The swimming, cool. Bakumatsu. They're just gonna show running around. Okay. So I mean, where I'm at with this, I think the realization of concept art seems to have been there, but in movement, in action, there is something just a little bit weird about the game. The thing I've brought up multiple times is this like gliding thing. This is the coolest part that they've shown of the game. When I think of Rise of the Ronin and I'm trying to do like, what is it? What is that game? What makes it unique? What makes it stand out? The thing I've brought up before in the marketing world is the tip of the tongue test. Like, you know that you have a successful brand image when somebody when it passes the tip of the tongue test. So like if you go, the famous example is like, okay, British chef always angry. You know what I'm talking about. You know exactly who I'm talking about just with that. Even if I do something as vague as it's effing raw, you know what I'm talking about. You know exactly who I'm talking about because that's part of the brand. With this, I think you could also be like, game set in Japan, big glider. And people probably know what you're talking about. People can probably piece this together. I don't know why more of the marketing hasn't centered around this. Well, actually, I think I do. But this is far and away the most iconic and interesting thing about the game that I've seen is this glider. And yet, when we see it in action, it's actually more underwhelming, which I think, yeah, Guy Fieri, Jamie Oliver. There are a lot of potential reasons they might not focus on it because they want it to be about the combat, not necessarily about the gliding. Maybe the gliding is like a smaller element of the game, only really usable in cities. Maybe that's part of the reason why. There's a lot of reasons. I think it's because
Trainer D donated $5 through Super Chat.
I'll follow
Rise of the Ronin looks unfortunately underwhelming in so many ways. So much tiling going on in those washed out textures.
Yeah, to me, well, I'll get to that in a second. I'll get to that. Thank you for the super chat. Yeah, I'll get to that in just a second. I'll finish with the glider. For me, I think the glider looks really cool, but the reason that they are not focusing on it so much in the marketing is because they want it to be more about the gameplay and the combat specifically. And because I think when you see this in movement and motion, it doesn't actually look that cool anymore. Like, look at this big sweeping shot. When he jumps up with the glider, it slows down immediately. Look at that. Do you see how fast it was going initially? And then it just slows to a crawl. And that to me suggests like data streaming stuff where they can't actually let the player move that fast through the world without excessive pop-in and issues like that. So they slow you down physically so you can't actually travel through the world that quickly. A similar thing has been present in like Bethesda games. I was talking to a modder actually who worked a lot on Fallout 4, and one of the goals that this modder had for Fallout 4, I was going to turn it into a video. I don't think it quite worked for that, but maybe we'll do that eventually. But anyway, he was working on vehicles within Fallout 4, trying to get a mod that would basically give you a motorcycle to travel the vast expanses with. And what he found was that it just was not really possible with the engine without major overhauls and things that were just frankly beyond his capability to do. So they kind of abandoned the project. Because basically what would happen when you started traveling too quickly is all sorts of things like AI and animation timings would break, and then also stuff wouldn't load in properly. And it just caused everything to collapse slowly but surely when you started letting the player character, travel too quickly through the map, because they had built the engine around you basically walking on foot or running on foot, with everything else assuming that speed. So, oh, we don't have to load in this stuff over here in the top of the map over there, because we have all of this time, actual time, when you're running and walking that way, for us to unload this stuff and load in this stuff over here. When you allow the player to just quickly zip over with a glider or with like a magical teleportation thing or whatever, you lose that time. And so it doesn't work anywhere near as well. And that seems to be what's going on here, because again, he goes from moving pretty quickly to probably the same speed as when you're sprinting. See? Little weird. So there's other things I've noticed, like you'll see it right here on the bridge. This is something I've seen in like Monster Hunter on the PS4 and on the Switch, but not this close. There's a thing that happens. There's a thing that happens in some games where, to save on memory and computational resources, they will have the animation resolution or frame rate past a certain point, or even quarter it. So past a certain threshold of maybe 20 meters, every model past that spawned in will have their animations play out at half speed. Not half speed, at half the resolution. So if it was a 30 FPS animation, basically, it now will go at 15 frames. And you can see this with these guys walking. Just watch them. Oh, wait. They were quick with it. Let me rewind. I'll stay zoomed in here. You'll see them in a second. You see that? It was very quick. Blink and you'll miss it. But you see, I'm moving forward at 1 frame at a time. They move. Another frame, they don't 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 move. Now they move, sort of physically forward on this next frame. They move a little. They don't move. 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 Now they move again. So there are multiple frames where they're just not moving, because that's how they save computational resources. And if they go in here and they're doing this in these trailers and it's visible, this is where the game looks its absolute best, and it makes me worried for where the game looks its worst. Worst. Because if this is where the game is at its best and they're still like, some of these things are sneaking into the trailer, it just concerns me. Because in 2024, I would have thought we were past this point. If you're going to give us an open world, I think if there's characters that are this plainly visible to the player, they shouldn't be moving at such a low resolution as you walk forward. I mean, other studios like From Software, even Ubisoft, for over a decade have been able to manage having NPCs this close to you without having to drop the frame rate so much. Because it's just jarring. Oh, Nikki just texted me. Some older kids were playing hide and seek at the park, so Lachlan is counting and playing hide and seek with himself. He wants to have his friends so bad, but like, he's a big 2-year-old. He's physically very tall, so he comes off as like a very big kid. But people forget he's only like 2. He's only 2 years old, so he doesn't have the language really. But he looks much older, so he wants to play with the big kids because they're physically big enough to play with him, but he doesn't have the language yet to be able to communicate with them and play with them. And so it leads to these moments at the park where it's just kind of like, oh, buddy. And he's still chipper. I mean, his feelings aren't hurt. He's like, oh, I'll just run around and do that. You know, it's just funny. Yeah, he's been a real cutie recently. He does not like me coming down to work in the mornings for streams and videos and stuff. He's like, no, Dada, you play with me. You stay up here. You play with me. No work. No work. He's such a sweetie. Anyway. So what was I saying? Yeah, anyway, there are 4 characters on screen. If you can't manage to have these guys running at and walking at full resolution, it worries me. It worries me. Ming M1NG5E. I will get to it. Don't worry. I am just trying to stay on topic, and then we'll get to the super chat that's off topic, just so that we can stay kind of on the same discussion before we pivot, because I actually have a video pulled up for that thing you brought up, so we're going to talk about it in a lot more detail here in just a minute. So okay, anyway, so when you do an open world game, that type of thing jumps out at me because it affects immersion, and if you don't think it does, then what are we doing? Like, okay, if you're able to go tunnel vision. Oh, sorry, there are 5 characters on the screen. 5 characters. You're right, 5 characters. I missed the guy by his hand. So that's jarring. I think that does pull a lot of people out in terms of immersion. When there's characters that close that are moving like that, it pulls you out. There's also, in previous clips, I've shown a lot of pop-in and issues that I'm hoping they fix before launch, but we're quickly approaching launch, and it seems like these issues are still here. Beyond that, this team is very, very capable of putting in some amazing combat encounters. I don't know what's going on with this. There are so many fingers. What the hell? This is like, whoa. Oh God. Look at that ghosting. That's not even ghosting. That's like, that's crazy. This is like Jesus with the loaves and fish. It's just multiplying. Jesus. So to me, it looks like they're probably using like an upscaler on the fur to make it look better. So they render the fur at a really low resolution, then maybe they upscale it, and then there's like some ghosting artifacts from FSR or whatever technology they're using for it. But it looks like real crap. I mean, come on. It looks real crappy. And granted, you're not playing a game like this, and you're not playing games from this studio for the graphical fidelity. You never really have. But you're playing it for the combat, but this stuff is jarring. This stuff does stand out. I mean, if I'm playing a game and I get to this sequence, for one, the hair already looks pretty rough for 2024 full price, for full price game in 2024. But then we go and like we have this much artifacting and ghosting. It's just very jarring. And I think if you're going to charge like AAA prices, you got to deliver AAA quality at the end of the day. Especially when other studios have been able to put forward stuff on the same hardware that has performed way better and looks way better. So it just concerns me. But this is where the game excels. Like, this combat is where the game is going to be made or broken. Like, you can have all those graphical issues, and if the combat's great, it's still an 8 out of 10. You know, the game can have all sorts of problems in cutscenes, a terrible narrative, any of that other stuff. But if the combat's really good, it's still an 8 out of 10, and I think the core fan base is going to find it enjoyable. But it just worries me that we've seen this game a lot at this point, and there are still concerns over data streaming, over pop-in, ghosting, like a lot of graphical and technical issues with frame rates bouncing all over the place. And we're getting close to launch, and the issues have not fixed themselves. And they're showing those issues very clearly and kind of in full transparency in trailers, like with this. And that just makes me think that either they don't see the problem, or they're just acknowledging that it's not going to change. And it's just like, nope, this is what it is. And so get over it. Which, okay, I respect it. I respect you showing the game as it actually is. I appreciate it. But to me, this jumps out and is a little jarring. And so I'm going to call it out if I see it. And does this mean the game is going to be bad? No. It does worry me what they consider to be tolerable as far as ghosting, artifacting, graphical issues, things like that. And then when we see other things like those guys on the bridge with the really slow animations and stuff, that worries me for exploring the map and the world itself. It just makes me wonder, like, again, what their tolerance is for this type of thing. Because it doesn't seem to be that low. It seems like they have a very high tolerance for pop-in, stuttery animations, frame drops, ghosting, stuff like that. Other moments like this, the glider seems to be moving much... I mean, it's still moving very, very slowly. Like, really strangely slowly. Am I the only one that thinks it's moving really slowly? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Feels like for a glider, it's crawling. Like, I thought Breath of the Wild did a really good job of matching that speed with what feels good and is controllable and what also makes sense as you're falling through the sky with a glider. But with this glider, it just comes off as really restrained. Because again, like, if it were, I'm not saying everything has to be realistic, but you would expect the point of a glider is to travel quickly. So you like kind of zip and glide through very quickly. I don't think they can do that because we've seen signs of other data streaming and issues like that. But it also seems to be capped in terms of max speed to what the player's like NPC or the player character's running speed is. It's the same thing where like I timed this out in Starfield where people were saying, no, in Starfield, you don't need vehicles because you can get a boost pack, a jetpack basically, that allows you to jump and blast through the air to travel faster. And what I found was it doesn't actually change your forward momentum at all. If you're running at 10 miles an hour at a full sprint, you will still move 10 miles an hour forward. If you're using your jump pack in that game, it'll just move you up. And they might distort the screen a little with like the air blasting past you to make you feel like you're moving faster. But if you actually set up like in Starfield and you say, okay, I'm going to start counting the timer like right as I go through this threshold of this archway. And then I'm going to see how long it takes me to reach the water and reach this rock in the water. And you time just sprinting it. And then you time it while using your jetpack and boosting along and blasting as you go along. It will reach the rock at the same amount of time. It just made you feel like you were going faster because you were moving up and down. And it's because they can't actually allow the player to move faster because it's an engine issue. It can't actually stream data in fast enough to let you do that. So with this, it makes me wonder if something similar is happening where they have the speed of like the player sprinting and then you go a little bit faster when you're like on a horse. And the glider just goes at that max speed, the max speed of the horse, which is a lot slower than it should be for a glider, but is the same as if you're on a horse because that's the max speed they can allow you to travel. But I mean, again, the combat is where this game will be made or broken. If the combat is like, then it drops to like 7 to 6 out of 10 range. But if the combat's good, it's probably more like an 8 out of 10, 8.5 out of 10. But these major technical issues that they're showcasing pretty proudly in their trailers, that type of thing gets your game knocked down a peg or two during the review process. Like, come on, look at this. The clip is so quick, blink and you'll miss it, but you better believe when you're playing the game, you're going to notice this stuff. And people are like, oh, Luke, you're just pixel peeping. They give me half a second of this shot. So it's easy to like glance over it and not look at it. But come on, dude, look at this. look at this. Okay, so we zoom, just let me zoom in here just so it's clearer and so chat's not blocking it. Watch these guys walking. Frame forward. Frame forward. They still haven't moved. Frame forward. Still haven't moved. Frame forward. Now he moves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 frames. So he's staying still for 5 frames, moving on the 6th frame. And again, it's blink and you'll miss it during the trailer because it's such a short clip. But when you're playing the game and there's a character 20 yards in front of you and they're running and moving at 10 FPS. Like, come on. I'm pointing this out because when you play the game, you're going to notice it. In these trailers where like they clip it together within like a half-second cut of this shot and then a half-second shot here, you might miss it and you just kind of look at the character in the tree and then it moves to the next shot and you won't notice this other stuff. But my frustration is like, if you're going to put this in your game, you have to meet a certain standard of quality. And if you fail to meet that level of quality, you shouldn't be upset when people call you out for it. If I go and I offer in my game, like say I'm developing a game and then I announce that, hey, we have basically a nemesis system. It's a system where you fight enemy characters that are dynamically generated and then you create dynamic relationships with them as you kill them and they kill you. They remember everything you did. It's basically a nemesis system. Everybody's like, ooh, awesome. Love that. And then you play the game and it turns out that actually there isn't really a nemesis system. What I put in my game is way worse than what my competitors have put in the game. And you're like, okay, well, if you just hadn't told me there was a nemesis system in here and if you hadn't pitched it, I couldn't have been that upset at its absence. But because you put it in here and you framed it as being present and you tried to put it in, I'm going to critique it and say how much worse this is than the other versions of it we've gotten. In the same way, like if you present the game graphically in this way with a more grounded, realistic art style, I'm going to call out that like characters' feet aren't touching the ground and are floating. This is like, correct me if I'm wrong, this is a full price game, right? Like, correct me if I'm wrong. I think this is a full price game. Is it not? This feet touching the ground has been a standard, dare I say, in video games for a while. And yet we are running into this issue even here. So we have 10 FPS animations and characters floating like and pop in and things like that. So it just starts to worry me. Now, it could be the case that when you play this game, you spend a total of 20 minutes in the city and you don't actually spend that much time in here. Most of the time is spent outside in combat where the game excels. That's fine. That's fine. Whatever. The game could still end up being good and worth your time even with these issues, because most of these issues that we're seeing are present in cities where NPCs are. I think that's probably because these guys have not typically done games with big cities with NPCs walking around, so this is new for them. And so naturally there are some growing pains that you're witnessing, but that's not my fault. Like that's not my fault. Okay. Yeah, if you play Neo 1 and Neo 2, it's all about the gameplay in Team Ninja's games. Yeah, but this, like, they've chosen to go big open world with whole cities of NPCs walking around. And like I said, when you put yourself out there and you try to put a feature in a game, you're going to be held to that standard, especially when it's full price. Because when it's full price, I now get to compare your game to other full-priced games on the market that are doing similar things way, way better. The game could still be worth checking out. Maybe not at full price. Maybe, you know, only if you really, really love the combat. But it's crazy because Neo 1 looked better than this. Well, to me, this suggests that maybe they bit off more than they could chew by giving us big cities and stuff. And that's kind of the vibe that I'm getting with a lot of it. Is the glider is a cool concept. I love the glider. It moves way too slow. And if you're going to give me a whole city and it's not populated until you get really close and then everybody pops in, like maybe we shouldn't have done a big city. Maybe we should have done something a little more narrow. Like the moment you expand your scope, you have to rise to that level and expectation. Because you put a city in here, guess what? Now I can compare this game to freaking Assassin's Creed 3, which had cities of similar size and scale. And honestly, in some cases, might have even looked better graphically from a decade ago. I get to hold you to that standard. And you're charging full price in 2024. So it's just, if you're going to do something, you have to do it to the quality level expected of the price you're charging. And in this case, I'm just, the more I look at it, the more I see a flood of potential hiccups. I see red flags. I see red flags. And I'm sure on the stream clip for this, there will be people who are very excited for this game that are upset that I'm pointing these things out, or that maybe they just honestly don't care about these things, and that's fine. My goal is to bring these things to your attention, because in the trailers, you might not spot them, but when you're playing the game, you better damn believe you're going to notice this stuff. You're going to notice this stuff. And that's the biggest thing. Like, in a quick trailer where it's 5-second clips, you might be able to just blast past it quickly. But when you're playing the game for hours and hours on end, you're going to notice all of this stuff. Here it is. Okay. Joke's on you. I'm attracted to red flags. He said the thing. Oh, yeah. So Rise the Ronin. I'm just seeing a lot of... The game could still be good. But when there's smoke, there's fire. And I'm seeing a lot of signs of technical issues. I think the last game they did had some technical issues that at least I encountered. So I am a little more hesitant towards it at this point. I don't think this is going to like win any Game of the Year awards from what I've seen. I don't think so. What could win Game of the Year awards is a new game that was just announced that Minga brought up, or Mingle, maybe, I don't know. Anyway, thank you for the super chat, my friend. Did you find out about the biggest mobile game release in the world called Honor of Kings? Oh, this is a different game. Sorry. I thought you brought up Kingmakers. I said Honor of Kings. Honor of Kings? Is this the one you brought up before? Oh, this is the one you brought up before. Yeah, I still have no idea about this game. It's an iOS and Android mobile game made in mainland China, released in 2015. It's one of the most relevant mobile games in mainland China. Yeah, I don't really play mobile games or MOBA games. I also don't really play mobile games that much. I mean, occasionally I'll play some. They brought Vampire Survivors and stuff to mobile. I've been having fun with that recently. But yeah, I've not experienced Honor of Kings very much, so I don't have much to say about it, unfortunately. I've pulled it up, but I've not like played it. I'm far from an expert in Honor of Kings. But thank you for the super chat, my friend. Thank you. Did I miss any others? I don't think so. Okay. So, in case you missed it, this one, Kingmakers, kind of came out of nowhere. They just announced it, and it is a little wacky. I'm just going to let this play in case you haven't seen it, because it goes pretty crazy. Like, just when you think you figured out what the game is about, you're like, oh, okay. Cool. You're going to see... You're going to see something you don't expect to see, okay? Wait, it's muted. Okay.
But I'll tell you, he built our village into a city.
Nice.
He's the one who trained our army. who grew us into an empire. I don't know where he's from.
Cool.
But if you think you can stop him, you're already dead.
What? What? Yeah. Have you ever wondered what driving a pickup through waves of medieval soldiers would be like? Or if having a shotgun or grenades would work? Well, that's this game.
Our people a future. I hope he can save his own.
Like what? Pretty insane. This is one of those games that's just like pure chaos. Like it doesn't need to make sense. It doesn't need to really walked away for 4 minutes. What on earth is going on? It doesn't need to have a lot of like explanation. It's just insane. So it's like maybe you start as a character in like a post-apocalyptic zombie world with the tilting skyscraper, reminds me of The Last of Us. And then you warp straight into a medieval battle and you just start plowing through people. Like I've always wondered with these types of games, like, did this start as somebody's passion project where they're like, yeah, I want to make a medieval sim game where you can like command forces and it's thousands of guys charging onto castle grounds. And it's like, okay, I'll work on this. And he works on it for years. And then he's like, I don't know, man. It's just, I don't know if this is going to pop off and be super successful. It's cool, but I don't know if it's going to be what I need it to be financially viable. And then somebody just in the office is like, what if we just like added guns and like grenade launchers and stuff, and we just let players fight in medieval battles with machine guns and stuff? Okay. And they did it, and it looks awesome. Like, it just looks outrageous. Now, I fully expect that this is a game that probably runs like crap unless you have a supercomputer, because I just have to imagine simulating all this stuff is a nightmare. It's got to be impossible to do on low-end hardware. Maybe they've worked some wizardry and they can get it working, but it's got to be so difficult to simulate all of this at once. Still, though, Apache helicopters, just swarms and swarms of people. It's pretty cool. So I hope maybe 2024 is just the year of wacky, outrageous games that are fun and not trying to take themselves that seriously. They're just outrageous. Because Helldivers kind of does that. This is kind of doing it. And you're seeing, even Pal World is basically doing that. You're seeing gamers are connecting with these games much more than the big quadruple A big releases, because they're usually offered at a lower price. They're just about fun, wacky, outrageous chaos. And I think that appeals to people much more than like another big corporate attempt at appealing to the masses. I think that this just fits much better with what people are looking for. And I mean, to me, it looks awesome. To me, it looks outrageous. What the gameplay loop is, who knows? It's probably just honestly like different environments and maybe outlines of battles. So it's like, okay, we're going to have this big battle against this swarm of people. You can go in and fight alongside them. You're trying to defend the castle or take over the castle, whatever it may be. And you can also just fight it with machine guns and grenade launchers and stuff like that. Doesn't make that much sense. They could say you're a time traveler, and you know, maybe as you level up and go through different levels, you can get access to the Apache helicopters and stuff. But I think it's fun. I think it's just fun. Yeah, it doesn't take itself too seriously. Yeah. AAA has only been offering monetization while indie games have been offering fun. Yeah, and I think that this game also probably did not cost an arm and a leg to produce. Like this is more a game about the dynamic systems present. Yeah, there's other simulation stuff here, like enemy invasion next turn. You can see there's crafting materials you need, citizens and population. So it suggests it's more of like a simulation game than anything, which is why I think it probably started as just an honest medieval simulator game that they eventually were like, hey, let's just add guns and helicopters to it. So I think it probably changed at some point. That's at least the vibe I'm getting. But like, this was probably much cheaper and easier to produce than Skull and Bones, certainly. But this is probably going to make way more money than that game, because it's just built around what's outrageous and fun. The decisions they made during development were what's going to be wacky and fun. And they decided to follow that vein all the way through. And that's what players want. They don't want a $200 million monstrosity. They don't care that you had 3,000 people working on it. They don't care. They just care about the game, the end product. It's why live service games especially are all about, and video games in general, I think, are mostly about whether the player has fun or not in the most bare bones way. Like, it either works for players or it doesn't. It either clicks with them or it doesn't. Either you have fun playing this game and you share it with your friends and you tell them to get on and you got to play it, it's super fun, or you don't. And with like Suicide Squad, either you have fun with it or you don't. And if you don't have fun with it, you're not telling your friends. You're probably telling your friends to stay away from it. You're probably encouraging them not to waste their time. Same with Skull and Bones or whatever else. But with Helldivers or with this, you try it and it's just fun and wacky. And so you share it with your friends. Add dinosaurs to it. Yeah, straight up. If they're doing like a time traveler thing, you probably could. Oh yeah, let's just add a Stegosaurus. You just spawn them in to help you fight. You know? Yeah, the year of why so serious games. Basically. But that's what players want. Players are just like, yeah, let's just have fun. Not everything has to be a super serious game with a battle pass and years of progression. And I think it's also just really frustrating for a lot of players for games to be built around trying to manipulate them into spending more time playing rather than just giving them a good game that's so fun they end up playing it for years. People don't like being manipulated, especially when they know full, like in full form, they know that they're being manipulated. And the developers are like very clear. Oh yeah, we're trying to find ways to encourage players to spend more time, which is just code for, yeah, we're trying to find ways to manipulate players into staying hooked on our game for longer. Players don't like that. They actively like resist it. Whereas if you just make a good game that's super fun, players will want to play it no matter what. You know? So that's one of those wacky games I did not expect. I did not. When I saw it last night, I was like, oh my God. I came across it on Twitter and I was like, what? What? Oh, details for Shadow of the Erdtree. It's their largest expansion to date. Makes sense. I mean, after all this time, I would kind of hope it is. Guided by Miquela. Enter the land of shadow, a completely new world from the lands between. Interesting. It didn't look visually that distinct, but maybe I wasn't looking that close. Seamlessly travel back and forth between the land of shadow's vast maps. Dude, so did they just create a new, like Elden Ring 2, but as an expansion? That's ridiculous. Here you will meet others who follow in Miquela's footsteps. New weapons, skills, and magic exclusive to the expansion, new storyline, bosses, dungeons, and more. I mean, it seems like they've been busy. Surface area will be larger than Limgrave. Over 10 new boss fights. So probably 11. That's usually what that means. 8 new weapon categories. What? Okay, that's outrageous. Structure is similar to the base game with vast fields, legacy dungeons, and smaller dungeons. Transition between fields and dungeons is more seamless with something a little more in between. Okay. Difficulty will be similar to the end game of Elden Ring, which is funny because I actually think the game got a little easier in the end game, but they say there are bosses equal in difficulty to Malenia, which she was very difficult, but it also depended on when you fought her, because there was one period where they broke the Malenia fight. Let me see if I can find it. Let's see. I think maybe this will explain it. Yeah, as announced by Bandai Namco, update 1.04.1 has fixed a bug with Malenia Blade of Miquella, in which her HP was not healed correctly in the online multiplayer environment. This should mean that the fights where you have summoned cooperative player to help, Malenia won't be able to regain her health unless her blows actually connect with the player. That's good news for anyone trying to overcome the hardest boss. Because basically what happened, let me see do they explain it clearly. Bosses to die at unintended times. Yeah, that patch was kind of a mess. But basically what would happen is like Malenia had these attacks that were just kind of like taking her sword and just kind of slashing it back and forth. And apparently they broke it. So there was a bug that would pop up after 1.04 where every time she performed an attack, she would heal from it. Instead of when it connected and dealt damage, she would heal. So players would like grind this out. They would get her down to quarter health or something, or half health. And then she would just turn around, do her big flurry attack, and just heal all the way up. And players were like, oh my God. Like, what? It's infuriating, but it worked. It worked really good at humbling players. Humbling players real good. So a lot of players, like, that happened to be at the time when a lot of people got to the Malenia fight. And so when they got to the Malenia fight, they were like, oh my God, this sucks. It's just, it's just really funny. Elden Beast was harder than Malenia TBH. Depends on what build you were doing. I think it was Holy. I think Elden Beast was like immune or super resistant to holy damage. So if you had a holy build, you were screwed. But if you did other stuff, it was much easier. I remember having a decently easy time with him. Oh, Mr. Jor Raptor. Hey man, need an extra 15 minutes to finish my video if that's okay, so we can start a bit later. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Speaking of everybody, in case you were wondering, we're going to do the podcast today. Here, our plan was originally in about 12 minutes. Sounds like Mr. Jor needs a little bit of extra time. So what I'm going to do is that we're going to take a little break on the stream. We'll create a separate event for the podcast, and we'll be back in about 20-25 minutes for the podcast with Mr. Jor Raptor to run through a bunch of stuff. So go use the restroom, get some food, rock and roll. We'll be back in about, like I said, about 20 minutes, and we'll do the podcast. Have a wonderful closeout to our Wednesday. It's going to be awesome, okay? So everybody, much love. I'll see you in just a few minutes. Go take a break, and check the channel page, Luke Stevens Live, for the event for the stream, or for the podcast stream, okay? Much love. I'll see you soon. Bye.